Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Growth by Shawn podcast. So, a couple of exciting things going on, but to start off, our topic today is how to get rid of your caffeine addiction. If you are waking up and you feel like you cannot function without your morning coffee, sure, it can be beneficial, but are you actively relying on it? This is what I want to touch base on and how to give you actionable steps of reducing your caffeine intake and then being able to actually utilize it so that you feel like you have energy again. I remember the first time I ever had a cup of coffee, it was crazy. It was bizarre and I was flying off the walls. It was like a euphoric feeling. But then now you can get to this point where when you have it repetitively every single day, it's just like frying your own dopamine system. And all that's happening is you continue to increase this barrier, increase this barrier, increase this barrier, and it makes it so that the effects just aren't as good. It's like to an extreme point. You look at a drug addict, and the first high is the best one you'll ever get. The second time, it takes a little bit more. The third time, it takes a little bit more. And you're constantly trying to reach that euphoric feeling, and you're never going to get back to that first time. So, I want to give you a couple actionable steps. The first thing that you want to do is how many cups of coffee, energy drinks are you even having a day? Where there is a healthy amount of caffeine that you can have throughout the day, all right? Because it's something that, one, there are natural caffeine sources, but when you're just overutilizing it, you're just killing your adrenals and you're really just not getting the best bang for your buck. So if you're feeling sluggish throughout the day, you're constantly looking for that another coffee around lunchtime, or when you wake up in the morning, it's the first thing that you do. Perhaps you have some trouble sleeping, or maybe you're just drinking coffee throughout the entire day. This is just keeping your body and your nervous system in a stressed state. That's one of the reasons people don't lose weight. They don't lose body fat. When your body is just constantly stressed and stressed and stressed, it makes it 10 times more difficult to actually lose inflammation and body fat. So, our first thing that we want to do, when you look at your caffeine intake, decide a cutoff time. Let's say 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Caffeine's going to have a half-life and it's going to stay in your body, in your digestive system for 6 hours. Okay, so if you just simply cut it off by 2 or 3 o'clock each day, that's a great first step to going and actually getting much better quality sleep. The more quality sleep that you're going to be able to get, then in turn, when you wake up in the morning, you're not going to need that morning coffee as much. So if that's something that feels difficult to you right now, then you can start by, let's make it 5 o'clock. Just pick a time where you're going to be able to stick to. Try to do it for an entire week, and then next week, just dial it back an hour. If it's 5 o'clock this week, it's 4 o'clock next week, it's 3 o'clock the week after. Just sometime in the early afternoon is more or less when you want to start to cut this off. So if this is continuing to stay difficult for you, what I would suggest is after that cutoff time, to make it so that you just do decaf coffee after that. Yes, decaf coffee still has caffeine, but you can drink about 10 decaf coffees for the same amount of caffeine as you can one regular coffee. So that is the second thing that you can start to do. You can switch all of your regular coffees for decaf coffee. When I first started doing this, what I did was I just made a half calf. So half a regular coffee, half a decaf coffee. And there is a large placebo effect to caffeine as well. So if you can trick your mind and body into thinking that it's caffeine, you will still get similar benefits. I understand that people love coffee and they don't want to give it up. It's their little treat. They love to sit in the sit on their front porch and have their morning cup of joe, whatever tickles your fancy. So now let's get into this actual morning routine though. When you get up in the morning and the first thing you're doing is you go turn the coffee maker on and you make a cup of coffee, whatever way that you do it. One of the biggest benefits that you can start to do in replacing this is start to delay your morning coffee. Now, there's a couple different ways to do this. One, delaying it by about 90 minutes is really, really going to help two things. One, your circadian rhythm, all right? The natural state in which your body wakes up. So, number two, this is also going to help in terms of delayed gratification. The longer that you can get comfortable delaying gratification, the easier the rest of your day, the rest of your life can become. Because if you constantly just, okay, I want dopamine, I'm gonna go get it. I want dopamine, I'm gonna go get it. I want dopamine, I'm gonna go get it. I want this little hit, this little hit, this little hit. And you continue to take, you are just frying your dopamine, all right? So start to delay your caffeine intake. And the biggest thing, I'm all about the small steps. 90 minutes is perfect. But if that's difficult for you, let's say wake up 10 minutes earlier and delay it by 15 minutes. Then next week, let's delay it by 30 minutes. Take your coffee on the go. Make coffee at the office instead. There are all of these different ways, and just pick something that you can stick to and then eventually continue to stick to. Build that trust, right? Continue to forge that habit. The next thing that's really important about your morning routine, get some morning sunshine. When you can get morning sunshine, this is going to help much more with your energy levels than coffee ever will, or caffeine, or your energy drinks. If you can get some direct sunlight into your eyes, you're not wearing sunglasses, you're getting out, even if it's just 10 minutes to start the day, this over time will give you so much more energy than you just starting your day with a cup of coffee, relying on it every single time. So I hope that these are just a couple of actionable steps that you can look at your life and go and say, you know what? These are some things that I want to change in terms of caffeine. These are a couple ways in order for me to change them. How can I start to implement this? Because it's one thing to go and listen to a podcast. It's a second thing to go and actually implement something. That's the key to everything, is implementation. So take some of the actual steps that I have, see what's going to fit your life, and then make sure that you can stick to it. Even if you revert to an old habit, it's okay. The next day, or the next minute, the next hour, you hop back on that train. So guys, I hope this is valuable for you in terms of helping with your caffeine addiction, or maybe you just want to wean off of it a little bit. Maybe you just want for caffeine, when you do intake it, to be more effective. So if you have listened this long, thank you very much. I have two things that I want to share with you very quickly. The first, in the link in the description, there is now a website called SneakPipe. What you can do is you can go on that website, all right, sneakpipe.com/growthbyshawn. You can send me a personalized voice message. I will have it on the podcast and answer your questions here, all right? The second thing, if you would like to support this podcast, I have also created a buymeacoffee.com/growthbyshawn, which will also be linked in the show notes. Now, the fun part of that, I do not plan to use any of the supported funds for the show for my own personal benefit. Everything will go back into the podcast. So whether that's a new microphone, eventually getting a soundboard, when I start to rent a studio, all of these different things, anytime someone supports the podcast in that way, it will go directly back into the podcast to make the show better for you. So guys, thank you for listening. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Share this with someone that needs to kick that caffeine. So thanks, guys.